we started our startup partnership program, we've met with literally hundreds of startups. And that inspired us to dive into what actually fintech is and what is behind the phenomenon of fintech today. So, okay, that's enough of the introduction. Let's kick off with a question. So how many of you would describe yourselves as fintech? Hands up. Oh, seriously? Nobody? Okay, people. So I have very good information for you. Today, for the very first time in a history, we will share with you our secret, slightly subjective recipe for a fintech secret sauce. So we'll tell you what's actually what you have to do to become a perfect, super successful fintech in this difficult world. Okay, so when you start a startup, you need to begin somewhere, and it's always good to start with the founder. So, ingredient number one. It's a founder, experienced, confident, preferably ex-BCG consultant. It can be also any other Big Four ex-employee, it doesn't matter. Ingredient number two is a team. Obviously the team is always the key. We propose to make a perfect mix of 4 top-of-the-class developers. However, maybe 4 seems slightly a lot, especially when you think about cutting costs in your company. So maybe let's cut down to 2. One can be for Android, the other for iOS, and you will still do very well. Okay, ingredient number 3. So you always need a client, and to get a client you need a perfect, fierce sales manager. And that sales manager should always know everything about PowerPoint. He has to, or she has to know how to make the perfect pitch deck, which is ingredient number 4. But what's important about the pitch deck, it has to have all the right buzzwords. So, sit still and listen carefully. If you are a startup developing Uber for finance, you are based on blockchain, you have an AI assistant, you are integratable via API, and you are installed on a cloud, you are in a perfect place, I promise you. Okay, so basically that was slightly exaggerated stereotype of a fintech, but for sure there is some truth to that.
So let's look at what fintech actually is. The textbook definition of fintech is financial technology, but where's the balance between financial and technology? So basically now the term is very broad, and it's everything from lending, blockchain, crypto, even to mortgage and retail. But we can also look at fintech by the timeline of the term itself. The first usage of modern technology in finance was in the 60s, and one of the milestones was implementation of the ATM in Barclays Bank. The term was first used in the 80s in the newspaper, but actually it referred to a glitch in a mailbox. The first real, considered as a real fintech company was established in 1998, and it was PayPal. But the real pivot for the phenomenon fintech was the 2008, the financial crisis, which on the one side undermined belief in many people in the traditional banking sector, but also left many talented people from that sector without work and looking for new ways to deliver value to their clients, more technology-driven in more modern ways. And one of them was Nicole Stravosky, who was an ex-derivatives trader in Lehman Brothers, who founded Revolut in 2015, which is a textbook example of fintech.
Okay, so that was a fast look at what fintech was and how it developed. But the question is, where is fintech today? So for sure, fintech today is on the top, and especially when you look at hard data. Investment in fintech in total doubled last year, and it reached and hit a record number of $111 billion. And obviously in that race of investing in fintech, some countries are doing better than others. when you look at the top 15 deals, the biggest number of those happened in US, but those with the highest deals happen in China. And this trend actually translates into some other symptoms of that fintech hype, which is the fintech unicorns landscape. So the biggest farm of unicorns, fintech unicorns, can be found in US. The second biggest is in China. In total, there are around 40 fintech unicorns today in the world. And they are valued at a total of around $300 billion. 300 because some of them are actually becoming these giant tech companies, translating from fintech into the big ones. And one of the big ones is the Ant Financial. It's a company established in 2004, as you all know, and it is today it has over 520 million users, which is over 50% of market share in China. It's valued at over $150 billion, which is actually more than its mother company. And a fun fact about Ant Financial is that on one day in 2017, during Chinese kind of Black Friday, they were able to process transactions of over $26 billion, which is actually quite crazy. So talking about big tech, obviously fintech is not only about startup, it's also about those big players. Today Apple, Google or Amazon are all growing their financial arms. They are actually becoming the real fintech threat to the banks. And just to name a few examples of that, we already have Google or Apple doing very well in the mobile payments business. We have Apple that recently unveiled their credit card together with Goldman Sachs. We have Amazon that is shaking financial services with small business loans. But we also have Tesla that just recently announced that they are getting into insurance business and are supposed to launch some insurance products.
So we had a look on fintech from the startup perspective. We had a look on fintech from the big tech perspective. Now let's have a look from the bank perspective, from the challenger perspective. Right now there's a new big wave of banks, challenger banks that try to address new demographics, that try to deliver new values to customers through modern solutions, modern technological solutions. Now they have more than 20 million users, most of them stolen from the traditional banking sector. And those challenger banks can be divided to two groups. First group are banks which are being invested by traditional banking industry, like Solaris Bank, which had investment from BBVA and Visa. And second one are new brands that are set next to traditional banks to reach those demographics that traditional banks have problems reaching.
But traditional banks support the challengers, obviously. They also support startups. And there is a lot of love in the air. Karola was supposed to sing a song from Spice Girls, If You Want to Be My Lover, at this point, but we will spare you that. So there are some love stories to tell about those relationships. And just to name a few, we have Standard Chartered teaming up with Payki to hop on the social banking train. We have Turkish East Bank or Thai SCB that decided to leverage startup to tap into new technologies such as AR and blockchain, talking about the buzzwords. And probably we could list that for another hour or so. So basically what we've heard so far is kind of a glimpse of all the different symptoms of fintech growing and becoming really a big thing. But that was the big picture. What is the picture in our own playground?
So actually, fintech isn't a new phenomenon for PKO Bank Polski. Maybe some of you know that we bought in 2001 one of the challenger banks in Poland, Inteligo, which was used to build our technological stack. In 2015, we launched our mobile app, which is the biggest mobile application in Poland. It has more than 3 million users, and it's considered one of the best mobile banking applications in the world. In 2013, from our initiative, Polish Payment Startup was launched, and that's one of the bricks we added to the big wall of fintech in Poland. In 2017, we were the first bank that invested in a fintech startup, Zencard. In 2019, we started National Cloud Initiative with PFR, and now we have Let's Fintech with PKO Bank Polski, which is a platform of cooperation between startups and the bank, and it's the biggest and one of the best such platforms in Poland and probably in CEE.
Okay, so there are many dimensions to fintech for us, and one could even say that we got to know all the 50 shades of fintech. Especially when we think about the program where we partner with startups. During past few months, we've analyzed over 300 applications from startups, and we decided to put them into categories to understand better what is the pipeline, the beginning of the pipeline for us. And here you can see the bubble map. The bubble map, where the bigger the bubble, the more applications we've received in that particular category. But what is interesting for us is that when you look at this map from a perspective, you can see that slightly over 50% of startups that wanted to work with us within Let's Fintech program are startups that, let's say, are purely fintech, so finance related, working in blockchain, lending, personal finance. But then nearly 50% are companies that have solutions relevant to basically any business, any sector, and it happens that fintech finance is one of them. And these are mostly companies working with solutions in HR, value-added services, or those working with chatbots or data analysis. So are those startups from the blue bubbles or also fintech? So when you look at what startups we actually ended up working with, you may agree with us.
So let's have a couple of words about implementations we had in our program. First of them is the implementation with Confirm. It's one of the biggest blockchain technology implementations in Europe, which solves our durable medium problem. Second is Verifiku Firma. It's a company that helps us to analyze our small and medium enterprise clients and build better credit scoring models. On the any sector-related side, we have Tutorial Online, which is a company that helps us to enhance our employees' performance in branches. We have Emplo-City, which helped us to build an Emplo-bot that makes our employment process more smooth for people that want to work in bank. We have IC Solutions that helps us to digitalize process in our branches. New Delta, which provided us with an OCR solution for a mobile app to scan invoices. To Pravnik and value-added service for our clients that helps our clients to cope with their legal problems. Chatbotize that builds for us chatbot solutions for internal users. And last but not least, Quantum CX, a solution that helps us to improve our NPS score in branches by measuring how much our clients smile during their service in the branch.
Okay, and that's just to name a few of what fintech actually turned out to be for us. And we started with a question, so we will also end up with a question. So, is fintech actually the new black? And I don't expect you to answer that. I will do that for you. On one hand, it definitely is. It's one of the fastest growing, most impactful businesses today. But on the other hand, it is definitely not. There is nothing simply black or white about fintech. You can see that fintech has as many shades as you can imagine, and that the bubble map actually shows that. And for us as a bank, basically any tech venture that has something to offer for us as a financial institution would be called a fintech. So thank you very much for keeping up with us during this 20 almost minutes. If you have any question, you want to reach out to us, please follow the instruction on the slide. Or just catch us on our Let's Fintech stand. Thank you.
Thank you so much.